Hello and welcome back to Mechabellum. I am Hazefest. This is a review of a game that I played previously, and it's about the 1300 MMR bracket. I'll be sure to put the information in the title. I'm going to go with the Supply Specialist with 4200 HP, and I'm rocking the Arclight Sledgehammer Opener. Opponent waits for the timer to reach 0 and gets automatically selected into Elite Specialist. And they're going to be starting with sledgehammers and crawlers. Okay, let's zoom on out here and see what happens. Alright, looks like I unlock Marksman and then undo it. Okay. Opponent's going to go for the arc lights, and they'll be level 2 since he is elite spec. I'm going to unlock crawlers. Okay. Alright, looks like the opponent's going to go for a standardized setup. It's going to have an even distribution on each side of his board. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to play pretty close to the towers, and as per usual, I do like setting my arc lights on the outside of the towers, in line with the tower as well. That way, if there's any flanks, my units will turn to defend said flanks later in the game. That way I don't get cheesed by a level 2 flank on the ground, at least. Most people will put crawlers there on level 2, like me. Looks like the opponent is just letting the timer tick down. Let's speed this up. Let's get this round 1 underway. And here we go. Round 1. Level 2 arc lights are going to be a pain. It's going to be very difficult for me to win round 1 against an elite spec. They do get that extra bonus of having level 2 units and a little extra cash. So opponent has 200 supply more than I do, I believe, or no, 100 supply more than I do currently. And those level 2 arc lights absolutely wreck me. We get a nice trade on the right side at the very end of that round. So that's great to save a little bit of damage. Round 2, we get item reinforcements. Get laser sights and heavy armor. Interesting. Subsidized Stormcrawler subsidized Stormcrawlers is what I'll be able to go for. Reduces the Stormcrawler costs by 50, which is nice. Brings them down to 150 instead of 200. Opponent decides to go for the laser sight, which is pretty good for him to pick up. He's also going to pick up 2 additional arc lights. Since my opponent is elite spec and he has a slow board, I decide to go for the Stormcrawlers, thinking that they would probably be able to increase my DPS output by quite a bit. Since they shoot 4 rockets each for 800 damage, that's 2400 damage potentially every volley per Stormcaller. So that is a lot of damage I can put out. Alright, we're just trying to figure out what we're doing here. Alright, round 2. See how this goes. I did put some late crawlers coming in from the left side there. So I got 2 Stormcaller packs and some crawlers with mass recruitment. These Stormcrawlers are taking on these inside level 2 arc lights, and both of them go down in unison. Sledgehammers are getting absolutely demolished by these Stormcallers, and I believe we can win this round. All that's left on the opponent's board are these Stormcallers here, or is this arc light here against these Stormcallers, and I believe they will go down. right. Round 3, we get unit reinforcements. What are we going to do here? Options of Wasp, Melting Point, 3 Void Eyes, or a Raiden. My opponent goes for the Melting Point. Interesting choice. Since the Melting Point's pretty slow, I think my Stormcallers would be pretty good into that. I choose to go with the level 3 Wasps. And I put them on my right side flank just in case he tries to come at me with some sort of cheeky flank play. I already have the flank covered with this Arclight, but I feel like this is just doubling down. And my opponent is weak to air. I don't know that he had picked 2 Mustangs this round in addition to the Melting Point. So my air pick isn't as good as I think it is. I level up my Stormcallers to level 2, doubling their output to 1600 damage per rocket times 4 per Stormcaller, which is a tremendous amount of damage. I decided to get some more chaff as well. I feel like my opponent, even though he has 4 Arclights, the chaff holds everything in place long enough for my Stormcallers to hit 1 or 2 volleys, and that can make a huge difference in clearing out some of these tankier units. Opponent decides to put down a missile on the front line here. It's going to take out the Sledgehammer pack and maybe even some of my Stormcallers. My opponent's board is looking pretty scary because he has double Mustangs that are level 2. And all I have is these Wasps that I'm banking on and these Stormcallers. Oh, the missile that I put was put down by me, not my opponent. I apologize. So I get a huge hit on this one Arclight and took out a few crawlers with it. My air units are coming in on the right side, taking out the chaff. The Mustangs are now engaging, taking out my Wasps. The Melting Point in the center is getting stuck on these Sledgehammers. Stormcallers are absolutely devastating the slower units. One Wasp decides to go after the Melting Point to no avail, and the Wasp pack does get the tower. We can take down the Melting Point during the debuff with the Stormcallers. Big damage to my opponent. That round worked out better than I expected. Round 4, we get more item reinforcements. And super supply enhancement for both players, increasing the income for the future rounds by 250. I'm sorry, 150. Cost 250. Derp. So, moving forward, we'll get an additional 150 supplies. And it'll be 2 to 3 rounds before we actually get any sort of profit off of that. Opponent goes for additional arc lights. He puts the laser sight on the Melting Point. He ends up getting Missile Interceptor for his Mustangs. Pretty good pickup for him. And he adds additional chaff in the front line to try to bait out those Stormcaller shots. I put range on my arc lights. And what else do I do? I have 200 money left. So do I just put down more chaff? I do. More crawlers are coming out of my board. I set them on the back line. All right, let's move forward. Round 4, here we go. Stormcallers shoot down these crawlers coming in. My arc lights are doing a good job. My opponent has pretty light chaff, so I don't really need too many arc lights to take down his chaff. Once those 3 groups of crawlers go down, there's not much left to block these heavy shots coming out of my tanks and these Stormcallers. Alright, the Wasps are going after the Melting Point. Only thing left is the Melting Point. These level 2 Stormcallers are going to absolutely decimate that thing. These Stormcrawlers are getting a lot of experience. This one on the left has now hit level 3. Round 5, we get item and spells. Opponent decides to skip getting that extra 50. I decide to take the electromagnetic impact. And I try to go for some of these Mustangs. Try to remove the missile interception. And I didn't realize my opponent was going to take Arclight range, so hopefully we can get that as well. He also picks up additional Mustang packs, 2 of them. I decided to go Mechanical Rage on my sledgehammers, giving them a little move speed and a little bit of attack speed. What else do I do? I grab 2 more sets of Stormcallers. I just really go in hard with these Stormcallers. Just lining them up right in the center. I throw down a missile on these crawlers coming in to make sure they absolutely get destroyed. And that way my units can focus on more higher priority targets. Alright, I got 150 money left over in the bank. I go ahead and level the Stormcallers on the left to level 3. They are one of my highest damage dealing units. The level 3 and the level 2 Stormcallers on my board are the number 1 and number 2 DPS for my board. The Wasp hits level 4, but I don't notice, or I don't level it. I throw down another missile on the left side, try to catch some of these late Mustangs coming in. Big debuff on the enemy units with the Electromag. Stormcallers whiff on the units in the front, those crawlers. Right side, we got a whole pack of Mustangs shooting up at these Wasps. The Mustangs on the right still cannot intercept those missiles coming in, so they're getting decimated by the Stormcallers. Melting Point in the center is taking out tanks and Arclights. These Stormcallers are now locked on and destroy it. Wasps on the right have been an absolute menace to my opponent, and they also take a tower right before the end of that round. These level 3 Wasps have been doing a lot of work. Unit 6, we get unit reinforcement. Round 6, we get unit reinforcements. Can't speak today, man. I'm like, my brain's fried. I've been doing stuff all day. I decided to go with the marksman, 4 of them, and my opponent decides to go for the Typhoon. It's level 3 Typhoon he puts on the right side. I decide to stack my marksman right next to my towers, 2 on each side. I go ahead and give them nothing, actually. On the Arclight, I decide to go Elite Marksman, which gives them additional damage and range per level. That's nice. Shuffling my units around, putting my Arclights next to my Stormcallers to keep them safe. And I put my Marksman on the outboard sides. Opponent decides to pick up an additional Typhoon, and it's level 2 since he is elite spec. He's got 1 level 3 Arclight and 1 level 3 Mustang. I decided to get the attack and defense enhancement from the tower. I also loan and get high mobility, which is the move speed and the range. And I elite recruit some Arclights. I put a missile down in the front to try to take out those crawlers again. That way my Stormcallers can actually attack things that are more important. I think if my opponent had decided to put more chaff in the game, he would have won. Alright, these Typhoons are a menace. They are drilling through my front line. That is a lot of missile interception coming out of my opponent. All of my Wasps evaporate, and it's just this overwhelming amount of firepower coming out of my opponent. Missiles are still getting through, though, even though the Arclights have missile interception. The elite Marksman Arclights are outranging his units. And unfortunately, they don't stop me in time, and I take the round. Pretty interesting game. Kept talking and miss saying things a whole lot there. I apologize. I don't normally cast games. I'm usually talking in the moment. So casting is a different skill set, and it's hard to react while calling the shots. And this was a pretty interesting game. I did not expect to win on round 6. And I thought he had 6 Mustangs with range and missile interception, and we still somehow took him down. I think the way that we did that was these arc lights. I believe the arc lights, I mean, this one on the right was top damage for the round at 33,000. I'm guessing the arc lights were outranging the Mustangs because they had 135 on the Mustangs. We had 158 on the arc lights, and we were just drilling through everything that he had. He just couldn't keep up. I think if we had gotten any items that enhanced the Mustang's damage, like the firepower control system, it would have turned the tide. But my units were tanky enough to last long enough to take him down. He just did not have chaff. I think if he had not went 2 Mustangs and instead went 4 crawlers, I think that would have made a huge difference. Because he only has 4 packs of crawlers as chaff. And then everything else is vital on his board. The only things that were really vital on my board were the arc lights and the storm callers. Everything else was chaff. And I think that was the difference. Anyway. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you thought about the game. I appreciate those who do. And yeah, subscribing will let you know when I put out new content, when I put out new videos for you guys to check out. And mid-tier Mechabellum's a lot of fun. I know I'm not at the higher levels, but the 13 to 1500 MMR bracket has been quite a climb. I'm still learning the game, and I have a lot to learn. Catch you in the next video.